Good morning, good evening, good day from wherever you're watching. This is David Feldman-Makrias, and what should my marketing budget, if I'm a car dealer, be in 2025? Guys, what's going on? So, I get this question a lot, especially during pitches for new business. What should our marketing budget be? How much digital spend should we have? Should we have any traditional advertising spend? What does that include? How do we figure that out? All of these questions, right? And I think it's a very common question to have in pitches for new business because, as the experts in a specific industry and a specific geography, we should be able to inform prospective clients on exactly what they should spend. So, the answer is not so easy though, because it depends on a lot of factors that we don't necessarily know of the dealership. Meaning, do they have a priority of service or sales? Do they have a priority of new or used cars? What's their inventory count? How's their management personnel? What's their pricing like? All these different factors, right? So I want to help anybody watching this discover better information on what you really should be paying and what the industry pays, and how you can figure out what you could be paying from what the industry pays in 2025. So I've opened up ChatGPT and I'm typing in what's the suggested marketing budget for a new car dealership broken down by digital advertising and traditional advertising from NADA. So let's get some stats from an organization that's well known, and then we're going to fine tune it and dissect it from there. So I'm going to hit enter, and let's see what happens. So this says a general guideline for a new car dealership annual marketing budget is typically 6 to 8% of total gross revenue, though this can vary depending on market conditions, dealership size, and objectives. Within this budget, the breakdown between digital advertising and traditional advertising is increasingly shifting towards digital. Makes sense. Digital advertising is 60 to 70% of the budget, which breaks down to a majority in search engine marketing, or paid search ads, I like to call them. Social media advertising, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Display programmatic ads, 10 to 15%, which includes retargeting and geofencing. Email marketing and CRM, SEO, and website optimization. Then we have traditional advertising, 30 to 40% of the budget, including TV ads, print advertising, newspapers and local magazines, billboards, outdoor media. I don't think newspapers is really something that we really need to talk about a lot. But here's an example calculation. For a dealership generating $20 million in annual revenue, a total marketing budget would be 6 to 8% of that. These are the ranges, 1.2 to 1.6. Digital advertising, 70%. Traditional advertising, 30%. This aligns with the growing trend towards digital-first strategies as dealers see higher ROI in digital campaigns compared to traditional channels. And that is true. But not all digital is created equal, right? We talk about that a lot on this channel. Not all digital is created equal. I want to show you something, too, that I found from NADA to show a chart on what actual advertising is being spent. So NADA details where 2023 advertising dollars were spent. This is pretty cool. So this graph is in billions of dollars, okay? And it shows pre-COVID 16 through 19, we were at the pretty much above the not $9, really 98 billion dollars in advertising. And then when we went to COVID, because so many things changed, inventory got better, and there wasn't the need for advertising as much, we went down to the 75 billion dollar range in total US advertising for dealerships. Then, as COVID retracted, we saw that shift back up. And then last year, we're at that 89 billion. I actually see it going all the way back up, if not increasing, because it's become a more competitive landscape now. And dealers are crushed with inventory, and we need to make sure that we're having ads and everything in front of people at all times across all channels. So, the interesting part I found from this article is that in 2023, it looks like a total number was, as for what that translates into dollars at the dealership, NADA estimates the typical new car dealership spent 520, let's call it 529,000 in 2023. 2024 is coming to an end. So what do we do for 2025? Well, this is an increase, right? This number will have to be increased for 2024 based on the trends that we saw in the chart above, and it may have to go up again for 2025. I think that the 6 to 8% of gross revenue is an interesting calculation. I would play with the numbers yourself. You could plug it into ChatGPT and see if that aligns up with what your marketing budget is. But let's use this 529,000 as a industry benchmark for last year and see where that goes. All right, so I have a chart depicted here that I'm going to go to, and I want to show you how I've arrived at certain calculations. All right, so check this out. So this is a table really, that I had aggregated from the information we got from the Digital Dealer article on NADA's estimate on advertising expense for dealers in 2023. So we have all the categories broken out here. Digital advertising, which is 72%, traditional advertising, which is 28%, search engine marketing, which is Google Ads, website optimization, SEO is a little more complicated. We'll get into that. Third-party listing sites, social media advertising, and then once we get in traditional advertising, TV, radio, direct mail, and newspaper. And newspaper, I don't even think is, Tribune or Sun Times or Post anymore. It's more just like local magazines. So I think of it as print. So if we look here and scroll all the way to the bottom, this first column depicts what we estimated to be the average Illinois dealership based on number of stores. I did Illinois. I found out the number of stores. I used that $529,000 as NAD average. And because of the ratio of dealers, which I think is 697 counted in 2023 from the total amongst, and generating $368 million of revenue, we come down to 529,000, which is the actual country average estimated at this time, right, in 2023. So again, though, what am I trying to do? In this whole thing, I want to see what a store that I run would do. And I'm not the average store. I'm actually in one of the major 5 metros in America. Let's figure Chicagoland. I have clients in Chicagoland. That's where we're based out of. And we need to get a more approximate number. So one thing we like to do, too, is we break this same 529 down and we break it into monthly numbers. That's $44,000, including third party. Now, Chicagoland has an increased competitiveness for the metropolitan area. We're going to assume a factor of 40%. When we come all the way down to the bottom, all of our categories divvying up equally, we have $740,000 in advertising expense. Now, this is on average, okay? This is on average taken to a Chicagoland metro, and these are using 2023's numbers. So this means that the average dealer in the Chicagoland metro was spending approximately just under $62,000 a month in advertising, which included roughly everything, but there's caveats, right? So like let me take website optimization and SEO. This budget's actually relatively higher, $7,200 a month. That could include website vendors, right? So like you pay a Dealer Inspire every month, you'd pay a Dealer eProcess or Dealer.com or Dealer Socket. You pay them a fee every month. So I think those costs are included in this organization. So from a marketing standpoint and from an agency standpoint, we actually reduce these costs by about 50% to adhere to website vendor costs that we don't necessarily supply. And then we gave it into search engine marketing, right? And that is to capture that competitive metro traffic. So you'll see the percentages don't quite equate. However, this is a more solid recommendation that we have. $45,000 on digital advertising and about $17,000 on traditional advertising. Again, adding up to this $61,000. The biggest expense you are going to see is in search engine marketing and third-party listings. Typically, third-party listings we count separately. And I want to put a caveat on this $62,000 a month. This was an average for our top 5 major metro in 2023. We don't have 2024 numbers yet because 2024 is not over. And 2025, as of the recording of this video, is right around the corner. What did we see from this graph? We saw that after COVID, we're back on the rise as far as advertising expense. I believe it's going to be right up here, and I believe 2025 is going to be even more aggressive because dealers have not had this amount of inventory, this amount of credit-based challenges in a long period of time, and at least in the last 5 years. So we're going to see some ramifications of that. So expect this number to increase. Expect this $61,000, almost $62,000 to increase. Our top dealers now in 2024 in the Chicagoland metro and other major metros are spending significantly more than this number, right? They are. They're spending upwards of $100,000, even more depending upon the situation. However, these top dealers are seeing the returns, they are measuring the returns, and they're well vetted in the situation. So, with that being said, it doesn't mean you should spend all willy-nilly, but it doesn't mean you should actually just stick to the average number. If you want to be above average, you need to do above average things, which means you need to invest in marketing more so. Guys, that's the quick tidbit on budgets for 2025. You have the answer, you have the formula, you have some questions that you can ask AI platforms like ChatGPT to try and figure that out. Let me know what questions you have, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. David Feldman-Makrias. Talk to you soon.